Alright, so I want to talk about the fallout from the Acolyte. As expected, a lot of people said that the episode killed Star Wars. Now, there's kind of two different opinions here. There's a few people that liked the episode, and some of them have been called shills for liking it. I can tell you that, like, I know some of these guys, and a couple of them kind of are shills, but a couple of them are not. But unfortunately, they all get grouped together as being shills. I don't understand how they could have liked the episode, and it has nothing to do with the agenda, the political agenda. Like I said, there's two different groups. One group is just really tired of Disney and Lucasfilm pushing their message, and they think that that's sort of distracting from telling good stories, which there may be truth in that, but I belong in the other group, which is I don't care about the message that much. It's more so, is the story interesting? There have been stories in the past of planets that have had all women on them and no men. I mentioned that Outer Limits episode. And in a way, those episodes can be a bit feminist, but if the story is good, like I can go watch a movie that's in a way political. Like I could go watch a movie that has a message that I do not agree with at all, and yet still be entertained. The issue I had with that episode is that it dragged on and it was boring. You know, the thing I want to talk about though is this whole Disney killed Star Wars thing. So how many times has Disney killed Star Wars? Okay, because I'm over here and I'm looking, and there's people who think that Star Wars died with the Phantom Menace. And I understand why, because the prequels were of lesser quality than the originals. And it's interesting because when you look at, like, for example, Star Wars Theory's fan base, I'm in his Discord server and I notice a lot of them like the prequels more. But when I ask them about it, it's always about Revenge of the Sith. Now, here's the thing about Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith is a great movie. I'm not arguing that. But the problem is the other two movies aren't so great. I don't hate the prequels anymore, right? But the original trilogy, to me, had three phenomenal movies. And even if you didn't like Return of the Jedi that much, I know a lot of folks don't. I loved it. Either way, it's a high quality Star Wars film. Now, I'm saying that because this whole Star Wars is dead thing is funny to me. I'm not disagreeing, but Star Wars died, bro, with the sequel trilogy. I know we had The Mandalorian. I know we had other things that were good. Ahsoka was good for the most part. I liked some aspects of Obi-Wan. And I loved, actually, Clone Wars Season 7, especially those last 4 episodes that take place during the Revenge of the Sith timeline. Like, that stuff is great. That stuff, most of the Filoni projects have been great, but a lot of the other projects have not. So it's been very on and off. I've seen people talk about how much they love Andor and the writing of that show. Meanwhile, I never got into it. I just couldn't get into it because I don't care about the character of Andor. I've never cared about him, even in Rogue One. And the first 2 episodes didn't hook me. With this show, I'm a tiny bit more interested, but in a different way. I don't want to watch this show and hate watch it. I don't want to do that. I hate being the guy who hate watches stuff. However, I'm intrigued in sort of a car crash kind of way. Let me explain. I want to keep watching The Acolyte because I want to see what they do with this High Republic era and how bad the car crash is going to be. I want to see if they retcon anything else. The Sith, for example, if they change anything with Yoda's backstory or the Jedi Council. There are things that I'm really curious about in The Acolyte, but sort of in a car crashy kind of way. With Andor, I didn't give a damn because the character never really did it for me. With this show, I don't really care that much about the characters. Just being brutally honest with you. The only one I kind of like is Saul. This show, again, for me, it's not about the politics and Disney's focus on it. To me, it's about, and I'm going to do a video about this. Actually, I'm going to do a separate video about what I think really hurt the MCU and really hurt Disney. Well, the Lucasfilm, they're all Disney. Because I have theories. And they may not be what you're expecting, but it's something to think about, okay? So, I'm going to keep watching The Acolyte only because I want to see. I'm curious about who that Dark Warrior is, whether he's a Sith or not. And I want to see what happens. The reveal of who that is probably the most interesting thing about this show. I do not care about anything else, just being honest with you. But the thing about Star Wars being dead, Star Wars is already dead, bro. It already died with the sequel trilogy. What Rian Johnson did with Luke Skywalker's character killed it for me. I don't care about Rey. I just don't. I'm sorry. I don't care about the character. I cared a little bit about Poe and Finn, but not anymore. And they might not ever come back. And I did care about Kylo Ren to a degree, but what they did in the last two movies of the sequel trilogy, I think, is irreparable damage. This is what I was talking about in the video I did about Kathy Kennedy, which got a lot of views. People really seem to like anti-Kathy Kennedy videos. But here's what I'm trying to say, right? Look, I didn't want to spam them, but it did well. I'm not going to lie about that. But here's what I want to say, though. The sequel trilogy, The Last Jedi, turned off a lot of people. But there was a group of fans that not only liked The Last Jedi, but some, even those who didn't like it, were curious about what the hell they were going to do with Episode 9 because Last Jedi ended so abruptly, sort of with finality to it, right? We've talked about this a million times. And then when Rise of Skywalker came out, the people who hated The Last Jedi said, great, another crappy movie. And the people that liked The Last Jedi hated it because it went back on everything The Last Jedi did. So you had a group of fans that liked Episode 8, and then they hated Episode 9, so they threw the whole trilogy away. So literally, it's just funny to me because people were split down the middle about Episode 8, but Episode 9, for the most part, almost everybody dislikes. There are good aspects of the movie. There are good scenes, and there's good acting, but overall, what they did was horrible. And to me, people are like, well, they just killed Anakin Skywalker. Buddy, they killed Anakin Skywalker in The Rise of Skywalker. When not only because Rey took his name and isn't really a Skywalker, that's not really it. When they went back on the prophecy was supposed to be that Anakin overthrew the Sith and brought balance. Now, yeah, and you actually hear his ghost saying, bring balance as I did. You didn't bring balance to shit because the Empire still existed and Palpatine was alive the whole time. If anything, that killed Anakin Skywalker. If anything, that is what ruined the prequel trilogy's story and what George had conceived. It wasn't Tuesday night's episode. It was that. Now, it's almost like they're kicking the carcass around. You know what I mean? So this idea, now, for some people, Star Wars is not dead. And I'm not trying to exclude you. There are people that still like Star Wars. And I still like it to a degree. I like what Star Wars can be, but not what Disney's done with it. And here's the truth, guys. There's going to be more Star Wars down the road that we like. Let's keep it real. They're going to put out a show or a movie that people are going to like. But then they're going to follow it up with one that everybody hates. And the thing that blows my mind is the fact that it's 2024 and Lucasfilm, not only do they not get it, but they literally treat the fan base with such disdain. It's like they're gaslighting the fan base here. Why would you do that? And then I see people who were telling me stuff on Twitter when I talked about this. They were like, well, they're trying to create new fans. There's not that many new fans, man. I at least not that I see. You can create new fans while still pleasing old fans. All you have to do, which is what we've been screaming about, is write good stories. And again, like I said in the other video, when you're on South Park's radar and they're making fun of you, it's no longer, a small amount of hateful men have ruined Star Wars because they're sexist or whatever the fuck. No, dude, they're clowning you because there's truth in that. And if I were Lucasfilm, I would look at this and be like, okay, we need to change our strategy. Is it really that hard? This is a giant business, and Disney in the past, for years, let's look at Disney's past before all this shit. Disney has been a successful movie studio going back to my childhood, and hell, maybe even my parents' childhood. I mean, we're talking years, decades, a century. They produce animated classics. What happened to this company? Just tell stories people can relate to. You can tell a Star Wars story about a gay man if it's a good story. Star Wars is not really a super romantic story, although there is romance in all three trilogies, albeit it's not explicit, nasty romance. You can put some of that in there. Just make the damn story interesting and stop fucking around with the lore. And I was hoping that they would stay focused on High Republic and just kind of get away from the Skywalker stuff and just really focus on stuff before the Skywalkers. And they have, and it still sucks. So, if anybody says Star Wars is dead, dude, just be like, dude, Star Wars died in the sequel trilogy years ago. Yeah, The Mandalorian came out, and there's been some good stuff. It's got some good stuff. I'm not saying it doesn't, but the hype and the excitement is gone, and I believe it's irreparable. I really do. I don't think they can do anything about it at this point. Those are my thoughts, man. Take care.